Greetings, friends. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with a new episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in tabletop role playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, together with input from anyone who happens to be in the live chat room, and of course, my own big brain. And I don't know why talking about my brain like that just cracked me up. Proves my brain actually not that big. So, yes, I use all those things together to generate random prompts. We get a random who together with a random what, smash them together, and then I draw that as a cartoon while you're watching, again, with input and commentary, buzzing back and forth, and all for the fun of it. It's all about having fun, doing some drawing. I certainly do. I recommend drawing to everyone just as a fun time waster. Just to kill some time, do something that entertains yourself. Hey, certainly, it's more than that. It's more than that for me. I'm a professional cartoonist. uh, also a professional writer and a professional nudge. I do a lot of things professionally. I get paid to do a lot of different things. But drawing. The reason I like drawing so much is it's always fun, no matter what I'm doing. Drawing is just a fun activity, and I encourage you, if you think you can't draw, trust me, you can. You can. Is it going to be good enough to sell? Well, maybe not. Probably not. Certainly not at the beginning. But can it be fun straight off the bat? Absolutely 100%. And that's why I encourage everyone to grab your favorite pen and paper, a notebook, a back of an envelope, some printing paper, some printer paper. Grab your favorite. If you've got a sketchbook, sure, bring it out. Don't be. A lot of people are very uptight about what I can't draw in the sketchbook. It might not be good. It's a sketchbook. It's not an art book. Go ahead, draw it. Have some fun. I will be doing my drawing as usual on an iPad Pro using an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. These are the tools that I use professionally and for fun. None of this is sponsored, so I get nothing out of recommending that other than answering your question of what I'm using, and I recommend those tools. They're very good tools for drawing. Hello, Michael J. Pastor. Welcome to the show. Good to see you, my friend. Um, we have a who combined with a what. Yeah, see, he knows all this. You get a who's a what's it when you combine a who and a what. Sometimes a what's a who's it. Sometimes I don't know. He's on third base. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna grab my iPad Pro here. I'm gonna get everything set up so that I can the uh, turn the screen over, and you can see that these are our encounter tables for the evening. Starting to move out of the necessarily winter themed into some spring themed. We're at an overlap period of the year, so we'll see a few still overlapping. But yeah, I like to keep seasonal, timely ideas up, just because that's what's on everyone's mind. So, enough of this jibber jabber. Let's get into it. I'm gonna come over here to my die roller, and we are gonna roll the dice twice. One, get a bunch of rolling, and one. One is our first who, and get a bunch of rolling, and two. Two is our first what. Tell you, this show, if you are not a person who has paid much attention to randomization in your life, just what happens with these dice uh, is a very good case in point of sometimes it seems very random. Sometimes it seems not at all random. It's like the same numbers pop up over and over. But that's what actual randomization looks like. I can tell you that as a professional game designer. All right, so we had 1 and 2. That is a mimic at spring training. Spring training, of course, I'm talking about baseball. Talking about baseball. I'm a big, I'm a pretty big baseball fan. Played a bunch in my younger days. Still like the game a lot. Don't watch a lot of it, but I follow my beloved New York Mets. Let's go Mets. Um, and and a bunch of other teams. Follow the Seattle Mariners pretty closely too, and the Toronto Blue Jays. Those are my three big teams these days. So we're gonna have a mimic at spring training. That's what we're drawing. So I'm going to turn off the tables. I'm going to switch over here. I like to do my sketching in blue. This is a throwback to the days when when art was done for art for print for publication was done in physical media, and everything had to be scanned and not even scanned, it had to be photo reproduced. This is before flatbed scanners were much of a thing, um, and so a lot of artists, a lot of people doing drawings for publication would do their drawings in what was called non-reproductive blue, because the stat cameras they used would not pick up that color blue, and it made it easier for erasing. Michael says mimic spring training disguises second base player sliding into its mouth. Yeah, I was thinking whether it would be the base or could be a bat, could be. Let's just do some quick sketches here. Could be that the bat is a mimic, and our batter is looking back at it. Could be, as Michael suggested, someone sliding into second base, and second base is a mimic. And again, big wide eyes. See that? Oh no. And that does seem like a good. Well, let's go with that. Let's go with that one, Michael. I'm going to erase the batter that I sketched up there. The problem with almost any of these is that they're very. Like, this is a long and thin image. I think I'm going to have a. I'm going to put the shortstop or coming in to make the play. Also surprised by the mimic. All right, so I like to do quick, get the sketch down as much as quick as possible. It's uh, a little extra sketchy there, so I'll give you a better idea of what I'm seeing here. Got a guy sliding in with his foot up, coming into second base. And we've got this base there, but it's not just a base. It's a mimic. I guess the ball could be a mimic too, if we want to. It's not just one mimic at spring training. There we go. That's a pretty good sketch. Hello, Kerry. Greetings from Maryland. He says, "Welcome, my friend. Thank you for joining us." We've got mimics at spring training. Is our first randomly generated prompt for the evening. Okay. With those sketches done, I think I'm going to just drop the opacity on that a little because I drew, in order to show you what I was doing, it came out very dark. But there we go. And um, let's get going. So I always say that you should start with the lines that you are most confident in. There's not a lot here I'm especially confident in. Uh, but I think we'll start here with our shortstop. I'm gonna have him wearing classic baseball uniform, and I don't know. For those of you who don't know, there's been a lot of changes in baseball in recent years. Um, One of them that doesn't get a lot of talk is the pants and the socks. These, when I grew up playing, there were these weird. Uh, Basically, I mean, you can see what I've drawn there. But I'll put it here just so you can see. You put it on. You wore a pair of socks, but then over them you wore a pair of these gartered kind of things that came up and were associated with your team color, and you'd put that on over the sock you were wearing. They weren't especially comfortable. I didn't really love them, but the look is very classic baseball. Uh, if you When you see them in photos, you definitely look at someone, if they're wearing that, you know that they're a baseball player. Not so true anymore. Nowadays, you see a lot of players wearing um, basically pants that come down to their ankles. I'm certainly not going to rail against that. I know some uh, longtime fans who feel that it's just, I don't know if disrespectful ever is the word they use. They certainly seem like they mean it. It's not how it was when I grew up playing, so it's bad. I don't feel that way, but I do like the look. I always like it when I see a player still wearing the old style um, socks. I don't know what players think of that. I actually have a the guy I go and get stretch therapy to keep my arms and shoulders and everything all in good working order. And the guy that I go to played minor league baseball, and we often will talk about baseball. I think when I see him next for my next appointment, I'm going to ask him about what he and his cohorts thought or think about the those old timey socks. Mark Milan says, "I like the modern head protectors." Do you mean batting helmets or what the catchers wear? And hello, Mark, and thank you for dropping in. You so Mark is also an artist and cartoonist. We get together usually weekly at a uh, little freelancer meetup in Tacoma called Freelance Fandango. If you're in the area, you should join us. Um, and he brought this time as a kind of show and tell some pins he got uh, from Backer Kit, I think, and they were all mimic themed. A bunch of people at the event were not D&D players, didn't know what mimics were. Um, but so it's funny, Mark. Here, randomly generated this week mimics. I haven't really decided what team colors I'm going to give these guys. There's another fun little detail that you can add in. I think that this is basically a double play. Uh, the mimics get 2 outs, and not both teams are on the losing side. There we go. Mimics at spring training. Two marks as batters helmets. Yeah, the batters helmets have made a big positive change since when I was a kid. An ear flap. We wore ear flaps in um, little league. Certainly, they had much more protective gear for us, but um, the helmets have gotten a lot more protective for the major leagues too. All right, that's looking about right. Let's see if I turn off the sketch layer, what it looks like here. Gonna add a few extra lines in, clean it up a little, and then we can start adding some color. And that's when I have to decide what teams. I think I certainly have got to have one of these be the Mets. How could I not? Chris says kids are expendable. Those pro players are worth millions. Oh man, yeah. Well, hard to argue with that. All right, let's go here. Drop into color. I'm gonna go. I use a pen, a basic pen out of the Procreate set, which is called Gloaming, and it's a nice little mix between um, crayon and marker in its effect, and it lets me do some quick shading. And I suppose I could make these both Mets players since it's spring training and they're training. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Who should the other team be? It's quickly in. I do what I call the shape within a shape coloring style. I'm not going to see it very clearly, but I identify the uh, each thing that looks like a flat shape. Like for example, let me just switch back to my other pen for a second. Um, this arm looks like just a flat, rounded off triangle, but in fact, we know that it's got shape. It's tubular to an effect. The body goes across like that. So these are the shapes that I'm talking about. Also, that in the arm there's going to be a muscle group here and a muscle group there. Even if I don't draw them out, I know they're there. So those are the shapes. Those are among the shapes that I'm looking at adding in. Um, I think while I've got my um, inking brush rather than the gloaming brush, I'm going to add in some pinstripes on this Met shirt. Like that. And then we can go back to the gloaming brush to do the rest of the coloring. But there, you see with that arm, again, I'm thinking rather than just coloring this whole shape like that, I'm coloring, there's a part that goes in the back, that part of the arm, and this part of the arm. And I'm separating it. And in doing that, it is helping to create the illusion of contour, shape, and sometimes texture. There we go. Have again the um, I'm doing each of those fingers separately, and the palm and the thumb, again to help give that feeling um, of shape and texture. Let's see. I'm looking down here to see if anyone had team suggestions or colors suggestions. No. Oh, pirates. Oh, interesting thing. Um, my growing up, my brother, although we grew up in the New York area, he decided that he was going to be a Pirates fan. Um, I don't really know why he chose the Pirates. I think maybe it's just because the Pirates sounded cool. So when I was growing up, um, I grew up in the New York area, and we used to go to Shea Stadium to watch Mets games, and a lot of the time we would go to see Pirates games because that way my brother felt that he got to see what he wanted too. So I saw a bunch of Pirates games back in the '70s. Let's see, I was very lucky in the era that I grew up watching baseball. Got to see a lot uh, of greats. Got to see Tom Seaver pitch on several occasions. I got um, since we went to Pirates games, I got to see Willie Stargell a number of times. There we go. You know what I kind of need to add on? Only baseball fans will notice this, but I notice you really need to put a belt on. No one, no one plays without a belt. It's a very small detail. It won't matter to most people, but it makes a big difference to me. All right, and then what else do I want to do? I want to come in here and nope. Come on. I want to show the infield, the dirt of the infield on the coloring on the wrong layer. And we're going to grab a little green for the grass of the infield. And I think I'm going to come back here to the top layer on the lines layer, and I'm going to write mimics 2. Ball clubs, nothing. And I'll put a little stand down in the bottom here because I think we have ourselves a successful little mimics at spring training drawing. And sing my song I haven't in a while. Ba da ba ba doo boop. Mimics at spring training done. Cheers to that. Ah, that turned out all right. Oh, yeah, yay. Another Thursday. Oh, I've gotten a lot done this week. and yet there's so much more I have to do. Isn't that just the way it always is? But it's been a good week. It's been a very good week. And I'm glad, Michael and Kerry and Mark and anyone else who's watching, I'm glad you're here uh, to share the Thursday evening. Looking at my hair, I think it's time for me to get a haircut. I'm getting a little shaggy. And not in the zoinks, come on, Scoob kind of way. All right. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to come over here. We're going to close out round one and turn back on our encounter tables. I'm going to have another little sip of my diet soda. Oh, Michael J. Passos, yes, extra long episode last night. Yes, on last night's episode of 50 Years in the Dungeon, we ran extra long. Reviewed, I completed the first mission. The 50 drawings, really 52 drawings, uh, one from at least one from each year that D&D has been around. The show's been on a little over a year. I've interviewed 54 or 55 people and done a bunch of drawings, and so that was the goal for that show when I started it last year in January, and so uh, I marked that as mission complete. Now, of course, the show is going to keep going because I'm having a very good time doing it, but we celebrated that, and it was an extra long show, which was a lot of fun. Uh, if you're watching this on YouTube, when you should probably be watching this on YouTube, you can find in my on my channel a playlist of all of the episodes from the show so far, and I highly encourage you to check them out if you haven't. All right, one more. We had mimics at spring training for our first drawing. Let's head back to the encounter tables and see what we get for our second drawing. So, going to come over to the die roller and once again go roll the dice and six. Six we know is adventurers. Adventurers. And five. Six and five. What do we got down there? That makes adventurers in a puffy coat. You know, I when I this is one of the winter themed winter themed uh, prompt setters have been uh, on the tables for a while, and I'm getting to the point where I'll probably be taking them off if they don't get rolled. So I'm glad it got rolled. There were so many possible things that I thought over the months would be fun in uh, if they had come up with a puffy coat, like a dragon in a puffy coat. That would have been funny, or a mimic in a puffy coat. Maybe the mimic is the puffy coat. I don't know. Adventures in the Puffy Coat, one of the least crazy ideas because, you know, the thing that makes these drawings uh, gets them to be really outlandish and interesting is when you get to draw something that otherwise wouldn't exist. And adventurers, for all their fantasticality, there, I think I just made that word up. Um, they're basically just people, and people wear puffy coats all the time. But I think I'm going to put mittens on here. Maybe we'll have them in snow, snowbank. So I'm thinking here is we've got a spellcaster and the puffy coat. The thing about puffy coats is it makes it hard to move. So I think the idea is they uh, can't perform the somatic components, which are the movement components to a spell in D&D. That's the gag. That's the idea for the gag. Like this is cast heal on a dwarf. Which one is a dwarf? Yeah, the idea of a just kind of grab this and make it small for a second so I can do another little sketch. The idea of a dwarf in a big puffy coat. Maybe I'll add that in there too. Let's see. If I grab that and make it small and put it in there with this guy, and I grab them all and make them big again. And this here is one of the best parts for me um, about doing work digitally is the ability to just um, move stuff around rather than having to redraw it. There we go. Think about the puffy coats. We got to make sure there's a zipper down the front. That's how you put them on. Yeah, so clearly I'm having to think about this because I'm not talking. I've explained in the past that one of the reasons that um, the 50 Years in the Dungeon show works is although I'm drawing complicated images, I'm doing an homage to something that already exists. Here, I'm thinking while we're going on. I'm making up something, and when a problem requires me to think, it I don't find it as easy to keep talking. It's clear to me that those two parts of my brain are very connected because when I call on one, when I need to think hard, I can't I can't I can't do my usual pattern, my usual chat here for what's going on, and that, as they say, is not good radio. So now it's all here, and we'll get to drawing. We got our two adventurers, our dwarf and our wizard, in puffy coats. And we got a dragon coming in to get him, too. So that's just upping the pressure. Cracking myself up. Which is funny, especially because I don't think this is that. Um, I don't think the dice have been particularly clever or kind to us here. Like I said, there were several other possible things that could have uh, been done with a puffy coat along the way, and the dice chose not to give them to us. Mark says, I'm glad you didn't put three halflings in a big puffy coat pretending to be a larger adventurer. Yeah, that that hadn't occurred to me. I'm glad I didn't do that too, though. I'm sure we've had other drawings that had that. Three halflings in a trench coat. Um, this for those of you that are D&D fans, I think maybe Puffy is a condition. You could if you could put the Puffy condition on someone, they'd be at disadvantage for somatic components. Spellcasters would be at disadvantage for somatic components, and all all dexterity checks would certainly be made at disadvantage. I think I was just about to think about the how to do the lettering, but I believe that what I'm going to do is actually drop it in here, typewritten. I think that's the plan. Draw that in there. There we go. If you have the puffy condition, do you have disadvantage? Yeah, puffy condition, you definitely have disadvantage on dexterity checks. I think that you certainly, and what I'm proposing here is that your casting spells with somatic components is also has difficulty attached to it. All right. Well, let's see. We're gonna go to our uh, gloaming brush. And we're going to have the puffy jackets. Like so. I'm suddenly stalling on what color to make the hat. I don't know why that would suddenly give me trouble. I'll make it a brown hat. Like so. Oh, I thought I grabbed blue there. And oh, I don't know. Um, too dark. Too dark. Ay, 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 ay. I don't have anything to say. I don't know where that's true, but it is right now. You gotta admit when you're running into an unexpected block. I just don't know what to say. I'm drawing, and I'm not talking. Um, let's see. Oh, we got here. Um, have I checked out the new 2024 versions of the core D&D rule books yet? I have the Player's Handbook. I have skimmed through a couple of parts of it. I really haven't checked them out in depth yet. They released new starter kits preview. I haven't seen that video yet. I want to. I do. I've heard about the starter kits, and I want to check them out, but I haven't. I have not yet. Now I'm going to use just a little bit of this blue to indicate that there's snow. Kind of like I use the gray to indicate the white of the beard. I'm using the blue to indicate the white of the snow. And as I will often point out, by doing that, despite the fact that both of those things are mostly the same white, they look like different colors. All right. So now we just need to come up with how to phrase the um, how to phrase the caption at the bottom. So I'm going to actually go back to our sketch layer because it's easy. It's quicker for me to write it down than to type it. But in the end, I will type it. Hello, Penny Firehorse. Thank you for joining us tonight. All right, so go. Um, really, wow. You know what I want to do is this. I want to grab all three of these, which I can do, and make them a little smaller. Zoom them up here because I'm thinking of uh, a wordy caption rather than it be rather than it be something they're actually saying. It's going to be something like um, much to his chagrin, um, the wizard oh no. See, this is why I want to write it down rather than type it out. Much quicker. Say the puffy coats. How do I phrase it? I want to say the puffy coats. Wearing puffy coats. Wearing puffy coats. Wearing puffy coats. Incur uh um a steep penalty. Hmm. I'm still not coming out right. Still not coming out right. When you have the puffy condition, you have to okay, that's a good one. Oh, Michael, I like that. Yes. When you have the puffy condition, yes, uh let's get rid of that. Did I draw that on the lines layer? I did. How silly of me. But when you have the puffy condition, that's it. That is the quick way to say that I was not getting to. Thank you, sir. So let's come here and we're going to add text. You can see there's text. I'm going to make it wide enough and tall enough to fill this space. Well, tall enough will take care of itself. but I'm going to change the size of that text down to about 20. That's going to be too small, but too small is better than too big right now. So let's see. It's going to be quote, when you have the I guess I'm going to want to get rid of those first. When you have the Puffy condition, comma, um, you have disadvantage on all ability checks. And then I'm going to come back here and say that while wearing clothes, with the Puffy descriptor, when wearing clothes with a Puffy descriptor, you have disadvantage on all ability checks. All right, and now I can take that, I can grab all those, and we will see what happens when I make the size a little bigger. There we go. Oh, no, just a little back. Let's see, it's going to be 23.8. No. 23. 23.5. 23.7 is too much. 23 point. Yeah, we'll just leave it at 23. Why am I worrying? Why am I making myself crazy like that? All right, no. Okay, while wearing clothes with a Puffy descriptor, you have disadvantage on all ability checks. There we go. Done. Teamwork. Teamwork. See, this is why we have so much fun on Thursday nights. Good job. Oh, why would you do that? Come on. While wearing clothes with a Puffy descriptor, you have disadvantage on all ability checks. I love it. I love it. I'm laughing inside where it counts. All right. Have that sip. I'm going to come back and we are going to clear out round 2, turn on round 3, turn back on the tables. Put that down for a second and have another little sip. I just want another little sip. Ah. Are you guys drawing out there too? You know, Michael is coming up with he's the idea guy. Are you also drawing, Michael? So, uh, you got to try and do both. That's where the big money comes in. All right, we ready? One more. We'll do one more. We'll get out of here. We had a lot of fun coming up. That last one, it it was a little hard. A little hard to nail down, but when it did that, when we got it, it was good. Let's do one more. I need to finish up so I can stop talking. Talking is not my. I have disadvantage on talking tonight. All right, three is our next two, and one is our final what? So that's going to be a skeleton dog sledding. Skeleton dog sledding. Hello, Chris Andrew. Welcome. Good to see you here tonight. Got here just in time for a skeleton dog sledding. Now, does that mean we have skeletal dogs? Is that a skeleton driving the dogs? I'm thinking it's a skeleton driving the dogs. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we got our skeleton on the back, and we've got when I put this on the thing, I should have realized that I don't know how to draw huskies. I'm not even particularly good at drawing dogs. I think the skeleton is going to throw a bone and yell mush. That's going to be our gag. Maybe it'll just be one dog pulling the. That's my gag. Michael says, working on the cover to your novelette? Ooh, that sounds good. I didn't know you had a novelette. This sounds very exciting all around. Okay, I'm going to get a sketch done here. I guess what I need to do is have the now, if I can get this to be a little shorter, I can make it take up more space on the square. All right, let's go here. I've got a rough sketch. I've got what's going on. Now, where am I gonna? I think, you know what? I'm gonna start with a dog, even though I'm, as I said before, not especially confident, which seems to go against my rules. But the purpose of the starting where you're confident is that you, when you get it done, you won't have to change it. Everything else can build around it. And while I'm not confident about the dog, I know that once I have the dog done, the rest of this drawing, as we can see, all happens away from the dog. So once the dog is done, I can work on the rest of the drawing and know that it will be, it needs to conform to the dog. It's easier for me to get the rest of the drawing to conform to the dog than to get the dog to conform to whatever I draw on the other one, because I'm not as good at drawing dogs. So in this case, this is a case where it's actually true I should start with the part I'm least confident in. Okay. I drew a lot of skeletons last year. I don't really like drawing skeletons that much. I find the I find it difficult to get the rib cage done in a way that I like, that is both uh, that feels right for a skeleton and still feels loose and cartoony enough for what I want out of my drawings. And recently, actually, because I did so many drawings of skeletons last year, I wound up recently looking at what I'd drawn and things that I did and didn't like, and then looking at how other cartoonists have handled skeletons and what I might learn and uh, steal from them. And one of the things I found a bunch of them do is, I'm going to draw up here for a second. Instead of, so what I do was I'd have this spine and then draw a bunch of ribs around it, because the ribs are all separate. But several cartoonists I saw doing this, where they would just make it almost like a vest. So um, they didn't worry about the fact that it wasn't really a single piece. It just made it work well for a cartoon. So I'm going to try that here and see how I like it later on. I'm wondering You know what? I think so. I really want to redo this so that he's not throwing. So get rid of the idea that he's throwing a bone, and then change it so that he's throwing his hand, like so. That'll probably read a little better after I get the sketch out from underneath it. Turn off the sketch so that he's thrown his hand and the dog is going to go after it. And again, I can move that forward, maybe make it a little bigger. There we go. Like so. There we go. And now we can jump in here with a little gloaming color. Let's see, we'll start with the. That's too dark. I'm going to use just a gray for the bones. I don't want them to be too pure white, particularly because we've got. Very often I do. I want the bones to be. I use blue as a highlight so that it'll seem very white. But because we've got a snowy area around here, and I want there to be a difference, I'm going to use gray instead. And then I come in with a light blue to highlight the snow. Put a shadow under there and a shadow under there. A couple of more. Just bits of detail. And we've got ourselves a almost complete. We need to color that just a little more. And maybe put a little shading in it so we create that. You don't need a lot of sense of depth on the skeleton. He's just a skeleton. The dog, doing pretty good, but the packs on the sled, despite being a pretty low detail thing, just sell it much better if I put that little bit of shading on it, so it increases the feeling that it's not just a weird series of arcs, it's a bunch of packs lumped together and tied down. Let's see, what do I want to do? I think I want to play around just with one little extra detail. If I can make it clear that that hand is what can I do to make that clearly his arm? There we go. I think that pop. I like that idea. Those weren't going, but nope. I like the other ones better. And here again, just playing around with it. Just I think that's it. I think we did it. I think we got it. Thanks for stopping by, Penny. Glad to see you. I will hopefully see you, Penny, also another person who comes to our Fandango meetings. Hopefully see you next week at the Fandango. And I'll stick a little stand down in the corner because we have now a skeleton dog sledding. Mush. Da da ba ba doot doot. All right, that was a Thursday evening, and I had a lot of fun with you folks here. So let me have another sip, and we'll do an outro and get on with our weekends. We have here a skeleton, uh, a skeleton dog sledding. Why can't I say that? Been having trouble saying things all night, which tells me it's definitely time to do this wrap up. We've got a skeleton dog sledding. That was our third drawing. Our first drawing, or our second drawing of the evening, was Adventures in Puffy Coats. And our first drawing was Mimics at Spring Training. So we had a lot of fun this evening doing some weird kind of late winter, early spring stuff. I have had trouble saying what I want all evening. And so I'm going to get this off the screen. And no, that's not how I do that. I do that over here by hitting this button. Whew, now it's just me. And thank you all for coming by. Thank you, Michael J. Pastor and Chris Andrew and Penny Firehorse, Carrie Forrestal, who was here a little earlier. Thank you all for coming by and saying hi. Always glad to see you. Glad you could join us. Hope that you had some fun too, even though my verbosity was not quite as smooth as usual. End up with a little smoothness. I hope you all had fun. Those of you watching who did not chat, no problem. Always welcome. You are always welcome, whether live or on replay. I hope you're having fun. I hope that some of you are taking the time to pull out your own pad and paper or electronic drawing instrument and do some drawing along with me. Whether you're doing the same things I am or just drawing something else that you see around your house or that you have in your head. It's a lot of fun. Drawing is fun. That's why we do this show. And I hope you'll come back next week when, with any luck, I'll be talking a little smoother and we'll have some more fun. And I'll see you then. Till then, take care, everyone.